think that might have fixed it. Alright, sorry for the very low quality right now. I did not have my audio configured properly. Of course, it's not like anyone's watching, so that'll be okay. Now, streaming this, I kind of figured there wouldn't be a lot of people watching because I haven't uploaded in a while and stuff like that. But I am actually going to use this for an upcoming video, some footage from this, so it's not a big deal. Either way, I'm at least getting it over with. So, to start with, I've got just a cheap watercolor set that I've been using for the colored comics, which I haven't done a whole lot of because it's a little bit of a hassle, because the pens I use, now I have pens that are compatible with watercolor. They don't run when they get wet or anything. But the pens that I originally used, I used gel pens originally, and they did not mix with water. When I'd use watercolor, they'd start to bleed around. So I've got some paper to test my color and ink with, so I don't end up with as many mistakes over here. I've got a white gel pen to get rid of mistakes. It doesn't work super well with the watercolors, so I kind of have to do some digital altering, but so I may not even use that. But this is just a very fine point pen. I use this for either very fine details that need to that I can't risk having them bleed around, or for text. Then this is a cone-tipped felt pen. I don't remember the brand and it's all worn off by now, but this can give me varying line thickness, so I like to use that. Alright, I've tried to tune this all so it will hopefully look good. We'll just have to see. And I'm trying to remember if there's anything else. I've got it kind of a sharpening filter. I've got light from two different directions, so hopefully, where I'm blocking the light here, you can still see, okay, I've got some sharpening. So hopefully the pencil will come across okay. I don't know, I had planned to show the digital editing too. I don't know if I'll have time for that though. I'll at least record that for the video I'm working on, because I'm working on a video sort of going over everything. Alright, I guess I am ready to get started. So this was originally going to be the final strip. It might be, or it might not be, because I've still got a couple days. I assume I'll have this done by tonight completely, and so I'll have a couple days to make maybe some short strips, and I have some ideas written down for that. So usually the way I start with these, this is the actual, sorry that's out of focus because I have the focus set, not auto. Took me a while to get everything just right, but this here is for number 6, I think. So usually I'll write down an idea and then I'll sketch it out like that, where it's just kind of a simplistic version, although that's not much more simple than the final comic. With this, I didn't do that. I basically just have the idea, so I'm kind of just going to work the whole thing out. So another thing is, this is a printed template, and I'm going to try something new, and that reminds me I need to make sure I have my white crayon with me. It would probably be better if I had a clear crayon, but I just have this white crayon because printer ink, at least the printer ink that I use, has the same problem where it runs with water. So I would have to draw the panels, but I'm going to try this where I'm going to try to coat, once I'm done, just coat the edges, and hopefully that'll seal it from any water. We'll try that. I figure even if it just kind of works, I can fix it digitally, so it won't be too big of a deal. So I'm just going to get started. I probably should have planned this ahead, because it's probably going to cause some issues with trying to figure out pacing and layout for each panel. So first of all, I'm going to try and remember which characters I had planned for this one. Now I'm assuming if anybody is watching this, they probably have not read the comic series that this is from. That's okay, because nobody reads it. But it's also going to be a little awkward because normally I'd do this a lot closer, but I got the camera in the way and microphone and stuff like that. Hopefully the audio's alright. I had to set this all up specifically for this stream. And you'd think putting in all that effort I'd be better prepared, but I'm not. So I'm just going to try to sketch this, and looks like it is coming out pretty clear. You can see that in the video pretty well, so that's good. And so it's going to, this one is going to involve one of the two main characters. Well, it's going to involve like both of them, but mainly just Cameron is going to be telling a story to a newer character in the strip named Eric, and that's how I'm going to do it, I guess. So I would say right now the way I'm sketching is different than I actually would, because I'm just kind of at an awkward angle, so I'm just going to have to do it the way that I can. I do remember I got to put the collared shirts, because this is supposed to be at his place of work, so I'll have to get that. Here we go. Mark is on now. He said, you're doing good. Keep it up. Glad to be here. Well, thank you, Mark. I did kind of bully you into participating, but thank you anyways. In fact, let me... Not that this is anything you can see, but just so I can keep up with any comments that come through. Alright. I have some sort of setup stuff done already for man, that's distracting. Out of the corner of my eye I can see a delayed version of what I'm doing. So I have this set up for some digital work if I do that, but I don't know if I will, because there will definitely be a delay when I go to scan this. It'll be like 5 minutes of nothing happening, if not longer. So I am just kind of doing the thing that annoys me when I do this, where they're just arms are at the side, but sometimes people do that, so it's okay to do that sometimes. I try to vary the poses from frame to frame. Okay, Mark says he's been here for a while. Yeah. Probably you commented that a while ago and I didn't see it, but now hopefully I'll be able to keep up with those better. Oh yeah, I remembered something. There was an error on number 14 where I think a name tag is shown on the top panel, and then in the bottom panel it's missing. Or I think it was the writing on the name tag, which wasn't actual writing, it was just a little squiggle. But so I'd always start with the characters. There's some exceptions, but just generally I'd start with drawing the characters, then the text, and after that I do the backgrounds last. So it's probably not the best way to do it, but it's just however you can figure it out, I guess. So Eric, I've been drawing taller. In fact, over time, it's not like I had this all planned out. There was actually a lot of missing details that I've kind of filled in over time because I wanted, I wanted it to be right, but it's also very hard to settle on everything all at once. So I did not, there were certain details I just let be unfinished just so I could actually get the comic going. And I just realized there's a friend of mine I should probably let know about this stream. Yeah, my friend Tristan, he has been basically since the comic started, he's kind of the reason it even got going at all because I was kind of stuck developing it. And so he talked to me a lot about it and helped me work out some details. Um, but I've been drawing Cameron a little bit shorter than Jared and than Eric, and I'm gonna try to stick with that because I kind of like that now he's kind of like shorter than average by a little bit. I feel like that fits his kind of cranky character. All right, so man, this is this is kind of difficult. I'm having to do this a lot further than I normally would. Maybe my other pair of glasses would help. Oh yeah, that's better. Alright. I've been wearing an older prescription glasses lately because I can see better in the distance, but this helps for sort of right here. And this is going to be colored, so normally with Eric, to show, he has darker skin, I would do lines. And I was wondering, like, is that like okay to do? 'Cause I just wasn't sure. But I saw Big Nate. That's how they do it in the black and white ones. So I was like, okay, it must be fine to do that. So he's just gonna be listening to what Cameron's saying. Sorry if I'm a little slow. Hopefully I'll pick up. I'm way out of practice with streaming. I was kind of doing it every now and then for like in 2019, I think. And so I was getting kind of good at it. And while I'm still on the technical side, aside from not getting the audio sorted for like way too long, I've got, you know, pretty good knowledge of how to work that out. So that part turned out okay. Now what's really not going to be fun is when I'm painting this. I probably am going to have to like lift the clipboard and maybe adjust the camera a little bit. We'll see when we get there. So typically, and this is something I'm going to work on because I'm considering every strip that I'm currently working on to be season 1, for the first year of this strip. And for what I'll be considering season 2, I'm doing an art style overhaul. So, I'll probably post some stuff related to that so you can get a look at that if anyone's interested. His arms are way too short. In fact, his body in general. That's something that I'm trying to get better at, is the proportions. I made him pretty skinny here, so I might have to redraw at least the right side a little bit. I tend to just draw things pretty simple, like just not add detail where it's not needed, because that's kind of my weak point, is small details. And it's particular details too. Some small details I'm good at, some I'm not. So yeah, I'm gonna make this arm a little wider, and then like his chest here and that side of him is blocking his arm a little bit, so I can get away with that still being the same size because it's supposed to be obscured by the rest of his body over here. So I think I am gonna adjust it a little bit because he still just looks too skinny. Trying to get these proportions consistent. And I don't use a model sheet most of the time unless it's a new character and I'm just getting used to drawing the character. Like Emily, in her first appearance was 11, I think, number 11. She looks nothing like any of her appearances afterward. And what's funny is I already had the design that I actually went with, but I didn't have it with me when I was working on that. And then for some reason I thought it would be a good idea to just leave it that way and use a new design with new strips, but I kind of regret that because I just think that design in that one looks bad. But I don't use a model sheet with her anymore, and I'm familiar enough with all the current characters that I have not been using any model sheet or reference sketches or anything. I would say normally I work faster than this. Also, the framing is not centered. That can be annoying, but I'm going to try to balance it with the background. Plus, the text is going to be, and this will be the sort of the template for the talk bubble, I think. It'll be right here. And I'm kind of really shooting myself in the foot not having this worked out before. I kind of wanted to show the whole process, which is why I'm doing it this way. Because normally I do like a layout version in a little notepad, so I know where I want to put the characters, kind of what background I might want to draw behind them, where the text is going to be, just the whole layout, and that helps a lot. And also the pacing, because I've got 6 panels here, I want to utilize each one meaningfully. There was number 4, I think, was recycled from the ad that I was working on, so it used frames of animation, which I actually cut a bunch of frames out for the sake of time. That was way rushed, and it would have been smoother. And also my hand was shaking a lot, so there were like horrible line work on that. And what I had to do is I managed to draw a couple straight lines and curved lines and stuff and just paste it together digitally. But that was like really anger inducing when I was using like a permanent ink pen on that, and my hands just would not stop shaking. But that has not been a big problem since then. That was like the worst of it that I can think of. So text is going to go in here. And I'll be back in just a second. Alright, so now that I'm back, gonna try to figure this out. Obviously this thing is not gonna go unedited when it makes it in my video. And I was supposed to record this, but I forgot. But I think the actual stream quality is good enough. Yeah, it's pretty much the same quality that I'm recording at, so that's gonna be okay. So I'm gonna edit it, like, because there's big spaces where I'm kind of doing nothing. So I'll kind of cut those out and then make the rest of it into a time lapse. It'll just be in like about a minute of the video that I'm working on. probably more when you account for the coloring and inking actually, but probably about 3 minutes of the video. Also, I stopped doing them chronologically. They weren't really done in a way that needed to have an order, but then I started doing holiday ones way late because I kind of quit. Um, I quit working on it for a while, for months, and I had some ideas, but I just did not feel like working on it. So I gotta make that J lowercase. I think you do a lowercase j like that. Also, there was a point where I kind of worried about my handwriting because it's not standard. I guess everybody's handwriting is a little different, but it's not typical of like comic writing. And there are some strips you can see where I tried to do a more like traditional writing style, but I just kind of figured, because everything I've developed about the strip has just made it more about what I want to do with it. So I was like, why should this be any different? I should just write it with my writing. It does annoy me because my writing is not very even normally. So that's like the part I hate the most, is actually doing the writing. Okay. So that when I was saying stuff about balancing things through the layout, this is kind of what I'm doing here, where how the talk bubble being off to the side, it gives this kind of a, even though it's asymmetrical, it kind of gives it a balance visually. Um, and I'm not all about like adhering to standards, you know. Uh, like if something, I can make something asymmetrical that's not balanced if I think that contributes to the way it looks in some way, or the way it serves the strip. But generally, if there's not a reason to, or it doesn't like give it an interesting look, like if it just makes it look like it shouldn't be that way, like it was kind of incompetently laid out, I try to avoid that. So that's kind of a way of adding balance, is making the top bubble more on this right side where they're more on the left. I think that does a good mix there where it looks okay. I'm actually pretty pleased with how this is coming through on stream too. Uh, you can see the pencil just fine. I was a little worried about that. I had to set the exposure to a fixed rate, and I have a couple filters. The sharpening is like a little bit rough, and I'm not a fan of that, but it was necessary to make that pencil come through, so you can actually see what I'm doing. I've tried to color balance too, so hopefully when I'm painting it will actually look how it looks in person. But I've noticed my comics always look way more washed out when I scan them. They look very vibrant, when I make them, and then on the scanner, just the particular scanner I use, they get pretty washed out. And it could be the sensor, but I think it's also just that bright, like sort of fluorescent colored light. I think it's LED, but it's like got that harsh fluorescent color, and I think that just kind of makes everything look washed out regardless. Okay, so I'm trying to think, because some of my strips are based on like just interactions I've had with friends, or just people around me. A lot of them are obviously they're more verbal than anything. Um, that's just kind of I kind of just don't do anything. So they say write what you know, so I write nothing. Um, so they're just little quips, just kind of some observational humor with a little bit of imagination, and it's kind of dry. I don't really know how good any of it is. I kind of have favorites of the strip, and then I have ones where I'm like, yeah, that one was weak. And I just kind of try to keep going and just hope that they'll be better as I go on. But this one is based on I was hanging uh, some decorations for Thanksgiving, and I'll probably do an up close. I sometimes switch it up with like an up close drawing, and I do that because I'm lazy. That's literally the reason. Because I don't do it for any layout purpose or like storytelling purpose or anything like that. It's just easier to only draw one character and like have less background to worry about and that sort of thing. So, that's a good way to be like lazy. If you're lazy like me and you want to get it done easier, that's the way to do it. Now I've made his head too fat, and that's a problem because his head is not supposed to be like that. So I'm just gonna correct this a little bit. Something I also worry about with the strip, it's kind of funny. I just wonder, like, are people gonna like grasp the characters' names? Because it's kind of inevitable. I feel like in real life, maybe it's just me because I'm an awkward person, but names don't really come up that much in conversations. I can like be working with someone or whatever and know them for a long time. As long as it's like, we're just kind of like acquaintances and we talk now and then. I can like never pick up their names sometimes, and then it's like it gets awkward. Especially it's like now I can't ask now. I've been talking to this person for like, you know 6 months or whatever, and I still don't know their name. Something about Cameron here. He's always got like a scowl. His eyebrows are always down, and they're connected. He doesn't have a unibrow. I just A lot of cartoons kind of do it that way, and I think it looks good. With the art style change, everything's going to look quite a bit different. It's going to kind of have a more realistic look, and so he'll have more obvious, individual eyebrows. But this is the design I came up with, and I've was always attached to it. It's obviously got some Calvin and Hobbes inspiration a little bit, which I was a little self-conscious about, like that it resembles that too much maybe. But I think the rest of it, I think I have kind of developed a style. It is simple, and with some more time, I could definitely refine it more. But I've reached a point where I kind of want to take it in a different direction visually. So while I was really liking that classic, like just hand-drawn comic look, I'm trying to go for something more experimental to fit sort of the tone of the strip. Because the strip is almost becoming a little bit of a commentary, and it'll a little bit more as it progresses. It will be more of a commentary, but um, yeah, I try to be objective about it. I don't want it to be something that would be like off-putting. I want it to be stuff that is maybe not obvious, but it's like if somebody thought about it, they would probably agree or see where the perspective's coming from on the strip. So I'm gonna try. I've been trying. I don't want to go into anything political because I genuinely have. I used to care about politics a lot, not even that long ago, and then I just kind of had this realization that both sides are just kind of doing the same thing as far as like straw mans, a straw man and stuff like that. They're all just kind of it's like so easy for one side to do the same thing the other side is, and they're generally guilty of a lot of the same things. So I just prefer to hold my own values, not really talk about them, and just kind of go with what I believe in, and just disregard everyone and what they think. Let's see, I'm not sure. I don't think I got that line straight enough. It's kind of hard to tell from my perspective, so. And I apologize for the, no doubt, wretched commentary going on right now. I'm just way out of practice with streaming. And I definitely should have given myself a little bit of an outline to reference now and then. But I think it'll be okay. Well, it won't be okay, but you know, it doesn't matter because I'll be just editing this. It's mostly for my own use, and if anybody is curious, they can join in. Trying to think, because this is the problem that I'm running into. And if I was talking about number 4 earlier, it was using the animation frames rather than being made from scratch, and then the text was changed digitally. And what did I do with that? Okay, yeah. So I remember what it was. There were extra frames for the character walking in, but there was no dialogue or anything else happening. So initially I was kind of self-conscious that it was just too little happening. Um, but then I went back on that because I did an edited down version that only used 4 of the original 6 panels, and then I just brought them back because I thought it kind of gave it like a interesting visual look. But that was not an intentional thing, and it's something I'm more deliberate with now, is how many panels I use and how I utilize them. So this is kind of going back to how I would have done it, where there's a lot less forethought. Something I'll say is the first comic, the first Eating Worms, is literally like word for word. So I got Mark here in the comments, and he used to work the same place as me, and that is like literally an interaction we had, where I was the one sweeping, and Mark was the guy with the hat. He looks nothing like him, but that's just kind of how I cast that. I've also put more thought into the characters' differences because they're both based on me, but like, kind of different traits. And the division on that was a lot less defined when it started out, and I kind of retroactively have tried to, make it make more sense. That's another thing with just because really you've got to just, if you want to work on something like this, there's a point where you just have to get started, even if you're not ready, just to start making it, and then you can fix things down the road, and that's kind of how I've done it. Because if you want everything to be perfect, it's never going to happen. You will never be able to do that. And that is something I wonder about, like, is my average comic going to just keep getting worse, or just stay mediocre because I'm not putting enough care into how perfect they are as far as, the actual content of them. Because the art is kind of just a delivery system, Like, I like it, and I try with it, but it's simple, It's not anything all that artistic. So it's more about the actual interactions and what the characters say to each other. So I definitely do wonder, like, is it good enough? I don't know. I just kind of keep making it and hope that I'm improving, and I try to find areas that I'm weaker on, but I just really don't know. This is going to be a pain to edit, by the way, because there's long stretches where I'm not even doing anything. Okay, so this is probably going to be another like sort of wider frame where the characters are smaller. They're both probably going to be in view. So I'll just kind of block out where they are roughly. But yeah, I wonder, to go back to something else I was talking about earlier, I do like, I wonder if like, because I just kind of had to do some strips in that first 6 that I released. Like I just had to, because the characters aren't in the name, you know? Like sometimes a comic strip will have a character's name, like the main character, or in the case of like Calvin and Hobbes, the 2 main characters. And that's really good because you never have to have any reason to explain who the characters are, like what their names are. So I basically did introduction strips. Like, I think 6 was an example of that. If I can look at this. Yeah, so if you look at this here, this is the same, I believe, as how it came out in the finished strip, but it says, "Hey Cameron, I'm cooler than you." Now I got the names backwards on this, because Cameron is the one with the hair. But yeah, that kind of shows that that was literally when I was making those first strips and still kind of determining things. But yeah, I just kind of did that with some of the strips, and I think now, like now that I'm not as worried about it, it's just as easy as you have a character say, "Hey, so and so," you know, and then say what they're gonna say, and then in the next frame, the character they're talking to is in frame, and then people can, people aren't stupid; they can understand that uh, that's the name of the character that's being talked to. But I was like worried about it. I was like, I gotta have their names in there. So their names are kind of gonna go not utilized. I don't want to bring attention to it. But when I do, which will only be occasionally, I'll do it more like that. Try to do it in a more natural way. But I guess their names aren't really that important most of the time. Um, so that will probably work out. Yeah, this is like not framed um, like that first one. They're a little bit more centered, and I've got to make Eric taller because he's a little bit taller. So that's probably going to be where his hairline's at. Kind of making his head big. It's not that big. There we go. Yeah, that's probably about right. Yeah, I would say my average at this point, which is not hopefully not going to carry over into this stream, um, just going from start to now with the comics. What's funny, Mark? I probably that story about where that strip came from. That's probably what that is. Because he was literally part of the inspiration for that strip. Because he said he made some comment about me sweeping too slowly. Okay, I think that's about done. So I've worked it out, and depending on the strip, it can take an hour per panel in total, because it's about a half hour to sketch, a half hour to ink, and it's gotten faster for sure, but I used to be very slow. But I know how to draw the characters better. I've just gotten used to it. And it's kind of a funny concept, characters that you design and make. You learn how to draw them better. It's just funny to me. It just seems like if you made it, you should intuitively know the character, but that's not really how it works. Just like anything else, you have to get better at it. Okay, gotta draw his face. I didn't even notice. Alright, so this is a problem with how I'm doing this. I've been drawing this guy at an angle the whole time. So I can fix that, because it's not too bad if I can just fix his arms. I'm just not used to doing this out on a table where I can't see it as well, and I'm having to look at it from an angle. And then the little nub of an eraser on this thing is running out, so gotta use this proper eraser. One thing I'll tell you about Mark, I can tell you this, he would definitely not rather be playing Uncharted right now. That's for sure. He would rather be watching me do this stream very poorly. Isn't that right, Mark? Who knows, he might be doing both. Might be playing Uncharted on his PS4 and then, watching this on his phone. And there's certain details you don't want to forget, like the bottom of the shirt here. It would just look weird if it didn't have a, if you didn't draw that, it would look, you just want to make sure you get those details. It looks like he is doing both. Or he would, I don't know which one is it. Are you doing both, or would you rather be playing Uncharted? I want some clarification there. Alright, so I'm kind of doing it again where their poses are just generic. I think it looks fairly good for this one. I think Eric looks okay, but Cameron is going to have to be changed up a little bit. He's going to have to be doing something that's a little bit expressive, which I have trouble with because I kind of am a stiff person in real life. I don't, don't move my hands around a lot. At least I don't think so when I talk. He's doing both. There we go. Yeah, that was a guess. Well, at least you're not totally bored then, because I know this stream is terrible. Yeah, real multitasker. Mark, did you read that other comic I sent you, the long one? Have you read that yet? I'm probably gonna unlist this stream just because I don't think it's would be very entertaining for someone to watch after the fact, or now really. So I'll be using the footage for sure. Hey Mark, would you rather that I was actually at your house right now, sketching there? Do you think that would be better? Oh, you haven't read the comic yet. I'm pretty sure that's what you're responding to there. It's okay, Mark. I know you don't read. You could at least just look at the pictures. You can do that part, right? I should use more fireworks. What, to make the stream more entertaining? Is that what you're getting at? And there I went again. I literally just doing... Williams joined in. How many people do I have watching now? Probably just 2. See if I can check these analytics real quick. It doesn't look like it's up to date. I'm working on my stand-up comedy. Don't give me any bad ideas there, because I just might, um, I just might try a joke or two while I'm out here. So I think that's gonna have to be good. Ugh. I think that's gonna have to be good enough. I don't think I'm gonna be able to. We'll just be standing there still. I'm glad you like my pictures. Also, I'm sorry, the stream has like a horrible delay. It's like 4 minutes, it seems like. So, it's, you know, it is what it is. I didn't set it up properly beforehand. I'm a little out of practice again. I've literally got a lapel mic clothes pinned to a hanging cord in front of me, and it's the cord to my webcam, so this may look semi-professional, but obviously if you're watching you know better. It's obviously very, man, they're both standing at a slant. I'm going to have to scoot this over a little bit and adjust it here. There. Alright, hopefully I can see everything better now. He's going to say, all I did was stand around doing nothing, and what else? And every time he looked at me, I gave him the bird. That's what he's going to say, because he's hanging out Thanksgiving decorations. It's not like me to be publicly humiliated right now. I'm not publicly humiliated. I should be, probably, because this is an embarrassingly badly made stream, but I'm not. So yeah, that's the interaction, because this is based on a real life thing that happened to me. Because some of them I just come up with entirely in my head. Not that that's anything that special, because it's pretty much just a character talking at another character. But some of them, you know, technically I came up with like pretty much all of them, because, you know, where the actual joke comes from is usually from what I said. And I say joke very loosely, like in, you know, air quotes probably. Oh yeah, I did pick up another viewer. That's my little brother that you met earlier, one of them, William. At least I think that's who it is, because William was on here. He may not still be on here. Let's see what we're at right now. Yeah, 2 viewers right now. Really impressive. I was thinking about like trying to stream this simultaneously to Twitch and YouTube, but that would have been a horrible idea. I'll probably do this again though sometime soon, because I feel like I'm kind of getting better at it as I go. And you know, except the drawing part, I'm hardly drawing, I'm mostly talking. So he's supposed to say, all I did was stand around doing nothing. So, alright, what did... Hi, Mark. Yeah, it is William, he's still around. Thank you, William, for watching. That's pretty epic of you. Sorry, I said epic, I shouldn't have done that. I'll give this tip to you aspiring streamers, because I have a water right here, so you can see that. You don't want to drink your water too much. You'll want to because you're like talking and your mouth will start to get dry, but it's very unprofessional to have to leave for a bathroom break during a stream. People will make fun of you for that. Speaking from experience there. Especially if you tell them what you're doing. You shouldn't do that. You should just lie. You should just be like, oh, I think there's a robber at the door, I'll be back. you know, when in reality you're actually going to the bathroom to go, you know, pee. Oh man. See, alignment is the most frustrating part of this, aligning my letters. You're currently digitizing a friend comic with your drawing tablet, yeah. I saw you working on that earlier. Have you been working on that for longer than a day? Yeah, aligning text I hate to do. And it's not even lined up, or it's not even level. Like if I'm, this should be a fairly level line, and the text is like kind of riding up here. That's why I hate doing the text, because I've got to offset this to make it centered, because I don't know how long it's going to be with the words and everything, like before I'll have to go to the next row. And I should just align them left, you know, like in a book, because comics don't do that. They do what I'm trying to do, where they'll try to balance it, you know, where everything's kind of, you know, has a middle point all the way down. I should just align left because I'm better at that, and just have that be kind of a quirk of my comics. But then I also like to do the rounded talk bubbles, and with the rounded ones, it just looks wrong when they're aligned on one side. And yeah, I don't know why I drew that there because I'm not done writing the text. All I did was stand around doing nothing, and every time he looked, I'm really running out of room. I'm gonna have to start that all over. See, this is why I should have known this would be a bad idea to stream, because I could have done it way quicker if I wasn't trying to talk. I was just doing it for the video. Well, William, we all know the comic is going to be really epic. Alright, let's try this again. All I did was stand. Can I fit around? No, that's going way too far. I have to go wider, or more to the side, I mean, so I can fit a wider thing from about here. That's a little too close to the top. I know this is riveting. You guys are really gonna be entertained by watching this process. Because I'm like doing a mediocre job of talking because I got to do some drawing, and I'm doing like a really slow job at the drawing because I'm trying to talk. It's like I'm bad at both. All I did was still on this, just writing this part. No, that's not the brother who likes dinosaurs. It's the youngest that well, I don't know that he still likes dinosaurs all that much. I guess he does, but he's not obsessed like he used to be. Doing nothing. There we go. It's finally coming together. Every time I'm doing this like a first grader would, where I'm saying it while I'm writing it. Well, in case you can't read it on the stream, it's probably like a little blurry. Let's see. Alright, if I skip to present on here. Is that on the analytics? No, this is on the correct one. Man, I've been going for an hour. Man, I thought this was going to take me 2 hours. It's obviously going to take longer than that to get it colored. Every time he looked at me, I gave him kind of running out of room again. Gotta go like another row down. Let me get a closer look at this. Oh my word, that's horribly slanted. Let's see if I can show you how bad that is. Yeah, that's horrible. So, I'm gonna have to adjust that. Looks worse in person. They're so slanted on that side. That's just, you know, that's how it goes whenever you do things the way you haven't done them before. It always is a bad experience. You should not try new things. It never goes well. What about now? Yeah, my word, I'm still getting it crooked even though I'm trying to fix it here. It's just coming like exactly as crooked as it was before. This is obviously going to be a big waste of time for everyone involved, but what's done is done. I can't get my time back. Yeah, it's 8 o'clock, oh my word. I think I started at 7, so... Or, you know, it was a little past 7. I was a little late getting started. Alright, that might work okay. I'm gonna get a proper look at this. No. On the right, it looks good enough. It's a little odd looking, but never gonna get it perfect. Not doing it like this. Alright, so I can hold it here. It's a little out of focus, I think, but that'll help me get the perspective corrected a little bit, and then I can fill in the details, laying it back down. Yeah, that works. His head's a little funny looking, but you can't see as well on the camera because I can't get a perfect head-on angle, but you have to trust me when I say it's not ideal. Alright, so I'm going to have to make this a little more concise possibly. Alright, I'm just gonna say screw it at this point. We're going with, we're gonna go to the bottom here, add another line, just for the word bird. Bird gets its own whole line because the word's just that special. I'll redraw this because it's a little bigger than the rows beneath it, so it'll just fit in a little bit better. Probably should have read that first so I'd remember what it says. Yeah, all I did was stand around. That's what it was. There we go. Thank you for the encouraging words, Mark. Yeah, I think it looks okay. I'm just like a little harsh on my own work. And this is gonna have like a little bit of kind of an odd slanted look. as a byproduct of how I'm doing this and just not being used to it, because I'm literally looking at it how you are, where it's like laid out like this. So seeing it from that perspective, I'm drawing it and it looks right from where I'm standing. You know, it's like one of those forced perspective drawings where once you see it head on, it looks skewed kind of weirdly. But that could give it kind of an interesting look, even though it's not intentional. Um, Alright, so question from here is, how do I get a talk bubble in here that looks relatively natural? So I'm going to have to adjust that. It's a little low on this side. So that's the words looked and at. Okay, that helps. I'll just draw a slight line here to remind me when I ink that, just draw it just a little bit lower than it is. Alright, and at the point of the bubble here, give it kind of a bump for the word bird, and we'll just kind of go with it that way. I think it's not that line is not as centered as the others, but it's gonna have to be okay because I've already been at this. At this point I was hoping to be almost finished with inking. I'm trying to think, because where I set this, because it's already got to be at their place of work, which is a grocery store, because I can't have any original thoughts. It's all got to be like what I do. And so that kind of limits what the background could be. If it was outdoors, I'd have so much freedom, because this is going to be colored, but I could just draw some trees, like a single tree, the tree's colored, like just have little details and just have little pools of color surrounding them, so I don't have to do like whole backgrounds. That's a nice trick you can do, and I haven't really done it with any of the strips yet, but definitely to save time I'm going to try something like that. What I think I'll do is most of the background is going to be white, and that'll help, because there'd just be in a white room, and that way the only things that need to be colored are, like shelves or something. Alright, so this is going to be the part where it kind of reveals, because it's like, all I did was stand around doing nothing, and every time he looked at me I gave him the bird. That's sort of the joke, because it sounds like he's flipping him off, and that's the point, because it's a little funny when you get the realization that, oh, he meant literally, because they're hanging these retarded bird decorations, because that's what I was doing when I came up with that little joke. Alright, so to continue the level of professionalism that I've maintained so far, I'm going to go use the restroom real quick. Alright, there, I got sound again. And I'm going to go back to the closer camera. Center this a little bit. Alright, so now for the reveal. Now the problem is, ideally I'd just use 2 panels, but the way I've structured this, I've got to use all 3. I want to have a symmetrical 6-panel strip, so that's going to make things a little bit trickier. So I got to kind of think on my feet a little bit about how I want to distribute this last part. Let's see. So for inking, I'm probably going to hold it about like this, so you can still see what I'm doing, but I just have a better view. It'll be out of focus a little bit, but you can kind of see how it works. And it's simple. It's just taking the pen and just going over what I've already made. So basically some factors that go into the pens I choose is how long it takes them to dry. That's important. How easily they apply. How likely they are to bleed. So this being a felt tip pen can be prone to bleeding. And so I have a paper here, because sometimes you'll get a bad line out of it, and I probably will if I demonstrate right now. Alright, that's actually good. It came out good. My hands are shaking a little bit, but yeah, we shouldn't have any problems here. Sometimes when I haven't used it in a while, some ink collects in there, and I go against the paper, and it just bleeds and creates a pretty big blot, and that's like, you know, that instantly kind of ruins my day, because it's just a mistake on there that's permanent, and then I have to work around it and fix it later, and you know, digitally. And the way I make these is they're hand-drawn, most of them, not all of them. 14 is not. It's entirely done digitally, and I think it's 14. Yeah, it's 14. And number 4 was assembled digitally. And there's some other examples kind of like that. I can't just go into all of them off the top of my head, plus it'd be a waste of time. I'm trying to get this done. Alright. So it's going to be another close-up so that I don't have to worry so much about detail. So Cameron's hair is different than when I started. It was originally kind of spikes, and now I just do lines. You know, it's like I cut some lines out and just rearranged it a little bit. I just tried it that way one time, you know, like with this felt tip marker, so I could control the thickness. I just thought that it looked really good. I don't know if it makes it look more or less like Calvin. I think it makes it look a little more like Calvin, because that's kind of how his hair is drawn. But I just thought I liked the look of it so much that I changed that to be how it looks. And yeah, so I digitally assemble these. So they're drawn, scanned, and I'm not doing the line there because I haven't done that for the rest of them, so I want to keep it consistent. And it's a little simplified, you know. Things aren't. They take advantage of the cartooniness to, you know, be a little simpler, so I don't have to do a bunch of details that aren't that necessary anyways. So I think he's got to have not as much of a scowl, because he's kind of amused with his own joke, you know, like I am. I'll often amuse myself a little bit with my own joke. So that mouth looks terrible. What have I done? Looks horrible. Yeah, I remember. So when they're smirking a little bit, I just do a sharp angle on there, and that looks bad too. Alright. Okay, I think that might work. That's a little awkward looking. I have to change that. Man, I'm really bad at this right now. Okay, part of it is I'm doing too much of it. The top line is not there as much. It's a lot shorter. So that, I'm trying to think why it looks bad to me. Because if I can pinpoint what about it I don't like, I can change that and see if it's better. Alright, so something I'll say is it's too far to the right. That's part of it. Like, even though that might make sense on an actual person that has like realistic anatomy, these characters are very much meant to be drawn from the side, and everything's not really arranged how it should be. And that's the case with a lot of cartoons, you know. It's just part of the style. It just, for some reason, looks more appealing that way. Alright, I'm gonna try and get this closer to my face so I can figure it out better. So just, that might be as good as I'm gonna get it. Might just be the sort of thing I've been working on it, you know, a specific way long enough that it's just never gonna look right to me. And something I'll say is, oftentimes I'm let down. Oh, there we go. Oh my word, that's such a prime example of like just not quite understanding why something doesn't work. I think this looks a lot better. Maybe it doesn't to you guys, but to me it does. I did the opposite, where the line on the top was shorter and the bottom line was longer, and that's why it looked wrong. So, at least to me. To the layman, it might look the same. You know, both might look equally odd. But to me, that was a big breakthrough moment, and it looks good now. So, right here you can see his armpits a little bit, so I'm going to do the same thing. Because I was thinking, this is low enough that you don't necessarily have to draw it. People can, you know, they're not even going to focus on that, and that's another important thing. You put details where people are going to focus. So if you got the characters in here, people are most likely going to look at the characters, and the background can be pretty simple or even non-existent, and a lot of people wouldn't really notice. That actually worked on me, even because a lot of the first run of comics I did, the first 6 issues, were meant to have backgrounds, a lot of them. And I just genuinely forgot, because I was focused on making the characters, you know. Once I was done with them, that was all I could see, was the characters. And then I posted it to Reddit, and somebody was like, I like your style, that, you know, and they said that they liked that it was simple, and like there weren't really backgrounds, it was just the characters. That kind of was alarming to me, because I was like, I wanted there to be backgrounds. So even though it was like a compliment, because it wasn't something I intentionally did, and in fact was something I had meant to do, but didn't, that kind of alarmed me a little bit. Alright. We were hanging. You can see my writing varying, because I'm just going to redo that, just to make it better. Hanging. I'm just going to say fall decorations. And this is where Google is my friend, because my spelling is usually close but not perfect. So let me just check that I spelled that right. Decorations, I'm not sure if it has 2 C's. Okay, looks like I got it right. Yes. I've caught some misspellings before. I don't think I've ever released one with a misspelling or a serious mistake yet, but it could happen. We were hanging fall decorations. I'm trying to think, is that sufficient? And I just spotted a mistake. It's supposed to be I stood around doing nothing. You always want to read what you've put down. I know Mark is an aspiring comic artist, so I'm giving him tips to help him with that. Oh, Aaron's on here. Wow. It's a bad stream, but I'll welcome any viewers. Bro, what's going on, Aaron? I'm just, making my comic that everybody has been talking about lately. Everybody reads this comic. It'd be funny if he's already gone. That'd be an epic moment. It would sure make me look foolish. No, it wouldn't. I'm just saying things at this point. So I think that what I'm going to do is this will be Eric's reaction, and then this will be pulled out and you can see the hanging decorations. That's how I'm going to do that. I just realized I'm explaining this for like one person because it's going to be a time lapse. Yeah, you're watching behind the scenes of Marsted Roashmallows comic. And it's Marsted R now. I've gone by Marsted R for like a year and a half. You should be honored too. I'm glad you're honored. How long has this been going? Oh my word, like an hour and 20 minutes, my word. And this is all I've got. I think Eric is going to be unimpressed. I think that's what I'm going to do. Because when I try to make jokes, a lot of times people are unimpressed. They're just like, yeah. They don't even really acknowledge it. They kind of do what you should do, where they kind of just, like, don't give it any attention at all. And they just kind of go silent. And then when they do that, it kind of gets the message across that not only was it not amusing, but they don't even want to engage in it in any way that might potentially encourage it. They just think it's so bad that it should speak for itself, that it was not a good joke. What number of comic am I on? 26, but only 25 Republic right now. So this will be, I've got 2 more. It's going to go to 28. So this is going to be, this one will be 28, and 29 is also work in progress. It's a little further along than this one, and I'll have those out tonight some point. I'm probably going to end this stream before too long. It's been going a while. I think I'll go through the inking at least. Okay, he's got to look more unimpressed than that, so I got to give him some, like, just flat eyebrows. Almost like a little concerned even. I think maybe I won't even have him say anything. I think because his expression should do all the talking here. He was like, like I was saying earlier, like what people do when I try to make a joke, that's what he's doing right now. It's very autobiographical, this comic. Yeah, yeah. Why? Now you're just lazy. You don't do any comics now. The world needs a Carl reboot. All right, he is gonna say something because I feel like my expression in here is not strong enough to to completely speak for itself. So I got to give it a crutch of having just a little sentence here. And I'm not even going to do a talk bubble. It's just going to be the words here. It's just going to be like that. So we might even just be thinking it, but it just kind of gives it that right, look. And then this is going to be like the thing where they're standing right here. That's worrying. Carl's out on the loose, you say. Okay, so the characters. Oh, and I'm doing it crooked again. See that? That person right there. Now you can see it. It's not really a person yet. It's just a funny shape. It looks like the Chevrolet logo, I think. It's crooked because I'm kind of working against this weird perspective I'm having to look at. Where do I post my comics? A couple places. Right now, Webtoon, Reddit, and DeviantArt are the public places I post it to. I also post it to OneDrive so that you can just download the whole thing in its base quality. And that's, if anybody wanted to do that, you can do that. Not OneDrive, Google Drive. I said OneDrive, I think. I've been looking around. I did post it. What was there was a platform I used to post it on, but that I quit because it just wasn't generating. I did Twitter, but the problem is I don't use Twitter, so I didn't have any followers or anything, and nobody's gonna see your posts if you're just a nobody posting, just some comic pictures. Nobody's gonna see that if you're not interacting with anyone. So I gave up on posting it to Twitter, and DeviantArt. I kind of just post it there because I always have. It's really not a great place to post it. It doesn't get a lot of traction there. Most of them go pretty much unseen. So do you have any suggestions for where to post, Aaron, or were you asking me for suggestions? Because if you're asking me, I don't really. Webtoon seems okay. The problem is you want to keep a consistent schedule because I basically posted all my stuff on one day, had like a whole page to myself on the latest comedy comic page, because whenever you post, it puts them in chronological order under the categories, like your primary category. So I had that for a day, and I actually got some pretty decent viewership. Got a lot of likes, like 13 followers just that first day. And then I waited too long to like continue it, and regular schedules are a big deal. Like almost none of my comics anyone even bothers to look at now. So I've been thinking, like, should I just delete the whole thing on Webtoon and repost it? You know? That's probably against their terms of service or something. Yeah, I don't know either. People would Reddit has been the best for me. r/comics. Just go on there. You gotta post at like 2 a.m. or later. So between like 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. you gotta post somewhere in there, because nobody's posting then, and you'll be right at the front for the morning crowd. And a lot of the people in the morning are not posting; they're just reading. So about 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. is your time frame. When you do that, like just doing that, changing nothing else about my comics, I would go from like 2 upvotes to like I think the best I got is like 30, which isn't amazing, but if you've got a good enough comic, I'm confident that that boost is enough to get you to the front page. You know, if you've got something that's actually pretty good, because the boost is like exponential. Just posting it at the right time does so much. Um, so that's basically what I suggest. Honestly, have a platform of some kind that you host it mainly. You know, something that you can advertise on Reddit. You know, like if you've got you know a main page that you post everything to. Oh no, another one. It's one I quit using. Tumblr. Yeah, I tried Tumblr for that for posting comics too, and was it's kind of I think it's the same way as Twitter, where if you're not active on the platform, you're just not gonna get anywhere. But the thing about Tumblr, if you don't have a website, you can create a pretty good page on Tumblr. You know, it's kind of like a website for your comic, and that could be you post to Reddit and then you share your Tumblr. But whatever you share, you want it to be a platform that a lot of people use, and that they would actually, if they see it on Reddit, would actually be willing to click your link and follow you on another platform. They can follow your profile on Reddit too. So if you want to make a profile just for your comic, people might be more likely to follow you, um, because then they'll be sure that all you're going to be posting is the comic, and there's not going to be unrelated Reddit posts that'll be in their feed if they follow you. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Tumblr is like that. I think it's like Twitter, where if you're not active at all, nobody's gonna see it. And yeah, I guess Tumblr is dead. I was like, I was just trying really anything. I was trying any platform that I thought might work. Like Webtoon, I totally did on a whim. And at first, it was looking like the most promising platform. But if you do Webtoon, you want to come up with a schedule that you can stick to. Like, you don't want to promise something that you're probably not going to actually be able to do. So I say like every other weekend. That's realistic for me. Because if I said every weekend, sometimes there's weekend. It's actually close to every other weekend, or to every weekend at this point. But every other weekend gets people's expectations. They're more likely to be pleasantly surprised than disappointed, you know? So it's more like, you know, probably 2 out of every 3 weekends. And when I do post, it's usually with 2 strips, so it probably averages every weekend at this point. But you don't want to say that a schedule that you're not going to be able to keep. So you'll want your schedule in your description. You'll want it something that you can stick to or stick pretty close to. Um, Also with Webtoon, it does not seem. I've tried different time frames. It does not seem to be a significant factor. Uh, posting time does not seem to affect your likelihood of gaining new viewers. That being said, if you can figure it out where at what time people post less, because generally when people are posting less is the best time to post, because you're going to have a stretch of time where people are no doubt going to be checking around. But I gotta figure out how do I draw a turkey here. Gotta give him the flap at under the beak. Yeah, because I've actually got to do some drawing on this drawing stream. That's one wing. Here's another, I guess. Yeah, I think Reddit and Webtoon. DeviantArt is okay, but um, it's not great, and honestly, like, I don't know. Plus, I think there's kind of a stigma with Reddit that there's a lot of furries and not safe for work stuff. I don't know. So like, if you want to steer clear of that, then you know you might not. And like DeviantArt has not been I've never had like a lot of success on there. So Reddit has easily been the most. Once I figured out that when to post on there, it's been by far, like, it's not even close. It's just been uh, the most viewership. So I'm trying to think, are these characters in the back room? That's what I want to do because I don't have to draw near as much detail. At least the way I think of it. It would be easier to draw some like little backroom equipment here or there than, because if you draw part of a shelf, that's just going to look weird. Because the obviously got to show the store where the birds are, because they're not going to hang them in the back room. But then if I want them to be in the same place where they're in this wide shot, then that's got to be out in the store. So I think that's how probably I'm gonna do it. I'll do some like fluorescent lights, maybe something kind of like that, something really simple. So that's a light there. That means this is an upward angle. I don't have to worry about drawing a floor. Alright, well, thanks for stopping by, Aaron. Mostly this stream is for use in a video. I'm going to make it into a time lapse, so it'll only be like 3 minutes long. But I figured I might as well stream it while I'm doing it, which was a terrible idea because I'm doing a really bad job. But, I still get what I need out of it. I think what I'm gonna do is I'll have the characters at the bottom of the frame here. So it's zoomed out a little bit and I don't have as much details to draw. That's how I think I'm gonna do it. And I think what I'm going to do, because I can do this digitally, and I do change layout sometimes digitally, which I think is what I'm going to do. I'll this frame, then this frame, then that one. So I'm going to swap these two around. So then you see, he explains the punchline, you see that explanation, so it kind of clarifies, and then you see his unimpressed reaction. I'll try it both ways. I'll kind of look at it and see which one I think comes across as funnier. And just to keep it balanced, I'll draw them a little farther apart, even though that breaks continuity a little bit. You can easily just assume that they moved around a little bit, or you can assume the truth, which is I was too lazy to draw it properly. Kind of making his head longer, and I'm trying to figure out, it's not really supposed to be bigger than Cameron's head. It's just supposed to be that he's taller a little bit, so you can see more of his shoulders. You can see a little bit of my head right now. That's okay, as long as I don't bump the microphone. So he's still got to look unimpressed. Let's see. I don't want him to look worried, though. I feel like he looks a little worried right there. That'll have to be good enough. He actually looks like he could just be glaring a little bit. Like he's not even just unimpressed. He's like maybe a little bit like disappointed or something. Yeah, I think pretty close. So something I did not get right. Turkey. I was trying to remember how to draw turkeys. They have like a tail fan thing of feathers. I don't know what it's called. Yeah, that looks instantly more like a turkey. And these are pretty rough. They're small sketches and I'm doing it at a weird angle. But as long as you can, as long as it's good enough that I can go back with a pen and get it right, that's all that matters. So gotta get the turkey face. Gotta get his like jowls or whatever. I can't remember. Is that what that is? I don't know. Okay, those turkeys are done. So for the background, fluorescent lights there. So I think I'll do that corner of a shelf here. And it goes back. There's some jars of like peanut butter or something. Not that I'm gonna draw much detail for it. And that's gonna be, I don't have an actual vanishing point here, not one that's drawn. I'm gonna probably adjust that light there because it's crooked. So, and I kind of have everything fade out a little bit, but it's emulating a vantage point about here probably, maybe a little further that way, but on this side. So gotta get those lights to line up with that. Alright. Looks a little bit bad. And by bad I just mean not good. Just looks like I could do better, Alright, that works for me. So what I'm gonna do with the coloring is gonna be gray shading, I think. It's sort of some gray here, gray that fades out. It's gonna fade out on this side. And so there should be a shelf behind them, and I don't know that I want to do that, so I might cheat a little bit and have the background not make perfect sense based on like the perspective. In fact, I just had a thought. I want to have these lights here, but the problem is you should probably be able to see the turkeys. So if I get rid of that and maybe make it further back, like you're seeing, like the turkeys are up here, but they're cut off, because it's not looking high enough. You can see a light back here, maybe. And not quite. Gotta get that perspective on there. Not that I put too much. I try to get some like decent perspective, but I'm not like crazy about it. And so I know I get it wrong sometimes, and sometimes I just don't care, but I do try sometimes. So that's like one fluorescent light, and there's another. Does that work? No, it looks weird. So part of it is this should reach out further. Probably shorten that. Alright. It's like maybe a ceiling tile you can kind of see the corner of, like maybe it's hanging down a little bit, who knows. And I think I'll just have a turkey foot here, you know, just so you can have a little visual continuity, you know, that once you look, maybe when you look back at this strip, you'll be like, oh, it was there the whole time, you know, or maybe you'll spot it immediately, but whatever, I think it will give some credibility to my work. It looks like, oh, this person actually kind of thought through what they were doing. So that's the turkey feet. And what else? So background for this has got to be similar to that. Yeah, I gotta do the same thing. This one is probably going to look almost identical to that one because it's a very similar angle, just a little closer up. And this is going to be the opposite, where the vanishing point is going to be over here because the camera's pointed in his direction. So how do I do the shelf here? So shelf's got to be about that high. It looks lower here, but I'm a hack and I don't care, so kind of do it that way, I guess. It's a shelf. Yeah, that looks, that's not good. It's not good enough. Should do better. Yeah, every time I try to cut corners, I'm like, yeah, that just doesn't look very good. Boy, this could probably form some bad habits, talking aloud. Because I'm basically, I think I'm talking to no one at this point, which is okay, but hopefully I don't, you know, I already kind of have a problem with mumbling to myself under my breath when I'm doing stuff. So, fades out here, and I'm going to make it fade out earlier on this side too, just kind of for continuity, and it makes the rest of this easier a little bit. Now, the question is, what about the jars? How many? Because I don't want to draw a whole lot of jars, but I may have to. I think I'll kind of have them like that. Oh, Mark's still here. Alright. Yeah, Mark's a real fan. Even though he hasn't read it, he's a real fan. Yeah, I think that's good enough. So, Mark, does this give you flashbacks to your former place of employment, possibly future place of employment? I'm not going to name it, but you know what I mean. Probably does give him flashbacks. It's like, no, no, not there. But alas, that's what it's based on. Yeah, there we go. Man, Mark, you gotta remind me. There's this video I gotta send you because it reminds me so much of you. Oh, William's still here. Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is this stream? That's what I'd like to know, since you guys are still watching. Pretty bad, I'd imagine. Probably at least a 7 on the scale of badness. What are you saying oh no to, Mark? Are you getting flashbacks from because of my comic? I don't remember what I said. What's not what matters? You might have been saying oh no to me saying there's a video that reminds me of him that I want to show him. Yeah, that's good enough. Alright. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop once I have the background details sketched for the rest of this, because this stream's already probably like 2 hours long. And I'll just record the rest offline. So if I draw the talk bubble here, because I'm thinking, you know, I'm using my brain for this. If I draw the talk bubble here, then I can more easily get away without background detail in this part, because that's what your eye will be drawn to, and it, you know, makes it look cleaner, less cluttered, you know. Yeah, it is getting late. Don't worry, the stream's almost over. You only have to suffer a little longer. So there's the jar. Yeah, I think that's good enough, just about. Alright, and then this has got to be pretty much the opposite, but I still need those bird feet. I'm good at drawing bird feet. No, I'm kidding. They're kind of wretched bird feet, but you can tell what they are, so it's good enough. It's kind of like a technical thing the way I approach this, where it's like, it's kind of trade-offs, you know, like Alright, if I can get it to look at least this good, that's good enough. You know, or not take up more than this amount of time, which I'm doing very badly here streaming, but I'm kind of multitasking at a capacity I'm not used to. So that's my excuse. So he should have some feet about here visible, and there's also a tile about here, corner tile, like that. Gotta angle it a little better. There, that's about right. And kind of angle that better, like that. Put this over, give it the slot there. That's not quite. There we go. So, the ambiguity, like you kind of have some ambiguity to work with when you sketch, because there's loose, light lines, and your brain kind of subconsciously interprets the ones it likes, and your subconscious is kind of better at that than your actual conscious focus. So that's my theory, at least, which is why I almost always prefer the way I make something the way it looks when it's sketched to how it looks when it's finished, because I kind of have to pick something and go with it, and then it turns out, oh, I actually kind of liked the, you know, because your brain can just interpret certain nuances where there's just a mess of non-specific detail. But then once it's cleanly defined, it can't do that. It's kind of stuck with things as they are. Okay, so things are going to recede to this side. And not quite that steeply. So I'm just going to stick with what I've been doing, which is having nothing on the top shelf, because I feel like if it took me this long to notice there was nothing on top of the shelf as the person making it, that the readers are probably also not likely to pick up on that detail. So you can kind of take the way that you observe and learn from that. It's not useful if it turns out you don't observe things the way most people do. You know, like maybe you're dumber than average or something like that. But if you feel like you have a kind of a grasp of how people are going to look at it, then that can kind of tell you like how much work you actually need to do. And what about, okay, I gotta give this backing right there. No, not there. In fact, this has got to recede in both directions, and the reason is they're not, this is the end of the shelf here. This is the middle. So it keeps going that way and it keeps going that way. You can't see the end of it from here. So it's just got to fade out. Trail off. That's a better way to put it. It trails off because it doesn't literally fade out, although the paint probably will. That's probably how I'll do it when I paint it. But the outlines trail off. I feel like that's pretty close to complete. Now it's got to have a row of lights that's symmetrical with this one. I'm almost there. I'm almost to the end of the stream. Just got one more panel. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. That works for me pretty much. You know, as I'm saying that, I'm literally changing it, but There, that just gives it a little more fullness on this side. And yeah. Alright. What else? So for here, this this is gonna be pretty easy. Just the top shelf is visible. So Carly cut it there. So I almost have to draw nothing. Just these two little lines. There we go. And anything else? Should the feet be dangling here? That's my question right now. It's so close. Technically, they're a little bit too high, I think. But it's so close that I feel like I could do it and get away with it. And this is just looking a little empty over here. So, if I just draw these little turkey feet like that. There we go. And do I want to draw the loose tile? I'm thinking so. I want to do that. Gives it some more visual continuity, which is always important. What else? Because I've thought about it a lot. With number 15, there's some visual continuity breaks, I think. It's very difficult to visualize it as a 3D space based on what's drawn there. But it's like the last page, I think. There's some mismatched perspective stuff that I feel like most people wouldn't notice because it took me forever to even realize that. So I'm like okay with that. Normally I don't like to have mistakes, but in a way, kind of a subtle mistake can add some charm to what you're doing. So. Roof detail. Let's see. The light is back here, so this is just the tile. The ceiling tile right there. So it's got to go to a harsh vanishing point, probably about here. Never hurts to draw a vanishing point if you're working on your perspective there. You know, like I put vanishing points on some of these. So I've got it at an angle, so another tile on that row should not be visible. If I correct that, so it's just head on, like how I had intended, but it's kind of not drawn that way. It's kind of drawn at an angle a little bit. Alright. I can draw like that part of a tile. And it's like the same corner, it's just from that perspective it looks way more open. Because this is going towards the vanishing point, and this is horizontal. This is horizontal, and that's going towards the vanishing point. It's just, this one is at the bottom instead of the top. And there's like, probably do some just gray painting on a like a blotch, like just some blobs out here. Because there's a lot of empty space. Maybe I could put a display. Oh, sorry about that. Bumped the microphone cord. I'll just do a sign that says sale. But that breaks continuity with this. Maybe if I move it off center a bit more. It's just gonna say big sale. Big. And an exclamation point. There. I think I will call that just about done. See, If I add a support there, that breaks continuity again. I know I'm sounding like a broken record at this point. So I'll have it wired to the roof right there. There'll just be little pinpoints that go to where it's mounted. And cut it off a little higher so it's not literally sitting on the shelf. That was the original intention, but not anymore. Now you know there's a big sail, you know. Some distance detail of some kind. I don't know if it's necessary, maybe I'll take it out. Just kind of to imply that there's not literally nothing on that side. Alright, I think I'm gonna call that good. I've learned one thing, and it's that I'm no Bob Ross. This talking and working I'm kind of terrible at. But we're 2 hours in, and I have about a third of the work I expected to have done by this point. I expected to be finished with it by now. So really I knew I wasn't going to get the editing done in that time. But that's going to be the whole stream, if anybody's even still here. Goodbye. Thanks for bearing with all this horrible technical issues and my slow meandering. Goodbye.